There's nothing finer to me than to be on the water when that sun comes peeking in under that Carolina sky in the Lord's creation, ripping some lips on my favorite waters, taking blind hog adventures with some of my best buddies.
All right, y'all, welcome back. This is our December holiday episode of Blind Hog Adventures podcast. We are so thankful for you guys listening and tuning in. Hopefully this is sounding a little clearer and a little better to you. We went from a redneck lab to a big old redneck lab, and we got all kind of fancy tools and new microphones and stuff like that. We don't even know what to do, literally. But we're here just having a good time. But this is going to be a different kind of episode. It's going to be a holiday episode talking about family. We've got some special guests with us today. We're going to talk about some people that have influenced along the way in our fishing journey, and just meant a lot to us over the years. Kind of took us under their wing and had a good time. And we got two of those folks here. So at the table with us today, who have I got? Mr. Gaston King, the one and only. How you doing today, man?
I'll tell you what, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That is a whole lot. I'm doing good. And here to my right-hand side, I've got my dad, Kent King, also known down here as Popping Cork King.
That's what I'm talking about, the Popping Cork King. And to my left, I have got my dad. I don't know what your nickname would be, but I don't know. But this guy, you don't have a certain king name.
Special.
But I got my dad, Kenny Furlow, with me. A lot of people know him out from his background, and whether it's in different kind of ministries or helping being a diesel mechanic with Caterpillar Gregory Pool for a number of years and contacts and stuff like that. But anyway, just got a good time we're going to have here today. Just, I don't know, share on some memories and things that's going on, and just have a good roundtable discussion, and also give you some information. We got some good giveaways at the end, so hey, like always, don't tune us out. You want to stick around because there is a deadline to get in on those. But we started last month with a mighty fine giveaway, and that was one with, what did you offer up, Gaston, to our listeners?
I offered a free charter with me for one day.
So we said, all right, go on. That last month you went on the YouTube channel, you heard it on the podcast in your favorite November bait. We had 32 people do that. And then we had one lucky winner we pulled out of a random drawing there. That was done live. Who'd you have? Who ended up getting the trip with you, buddy?
Big congratulations to Ryan Wagner. We're going to get you out there to catch some nice trout.
Yeah.
And we'll set that up and get a good time for that.
Yeah, and we've already contacted him, set up the contact information. So he's got a pretty good trip to give somebody along with him for a Christmas present. We got some awesome giveaways to give away today. But let's get into why we're here, man. And that's the holiday episode, having a good time, what we all love about fishing, what we like to do, what just makes it special, man. And so I'll start out with you. I'm going to bring it to the opposite side of the table. We got you and your dad there. What got you into fishing? In other words, how'd that journey start?
I don't know, Kent. How old was I when you took me fishing for the first time?
I'd say you were probably about 3 or 4. I got a picture on the refrigerator. You were 3. You and Wayne were caves showing you how to use a cane pole to catch crappie and brim out of the pond.
That's what I'm talking
You
about.
couldn't be over 3 years old.
I've come a long way since the cane pole days, y'all.
Sometimes I think we're better off going back.
Hey, I guarantee I could catch some on a cane pole. But that was just little pond fishing. I mean, we had crickets and worms and, catching brim. I mean, it was fun to me. I didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
But I that picture you talk about, I've got my hands behind my back and I'm studying that fish. I've been studying ever since, and I still ain't learned a whole lot.
Yeah, that's cool though. So Kent, what got you into fishing, man? What made you get it into fishing, or kind of what drew you to it?
I was blessed to grow up beside my grandfather.
Okay.
He was a wonderful man, a great teacher, and he was my best friend. And they called me John Ward's shadow because everywhere he went, I was right there.
So he did a lot of
fishing. He taught me how to
fishing.
fish and hunt. We went everywhere in eastern North Carolina. The whole neighborhood we grew up in was railroad men, and they were all hunters and fishermen. And I just grew up very luckily in a wonderful, wonderful place.
And where did you grow up? What'd you call home? What was your
Rocky
area?
Mountain,
Okay.
Southeastern Rocky Mountain. I grew up on the poor side.
Hey, we all of Crest was a
I've been
poor
there.
side, so yeah. But hey, that's
We
what
had to hunt and fish for what we had.
yeah, that's right.
Weren't no trophy.
No, we didn't really, but we enjoyed eating quail and rabbits and squirrels, deer meat, and all kinds of freshwater fish, all kinds of saltwater fish. It's fun. We always got together either at our house or my grandparents' house next door. Once a week at least, we would have something that God had provided.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So, what kind of when you started out? I know you saw an interest there at the pond and stuff like that. Did you see an early interest that he kind of drew to that? Is that something that kind of drew you guys together?
But just like me and my granddad, I couldn't get rid of him.
That is very true. I annoyed him probably more than anything there for a while.
That's all right. That's all right.
But all I wanted to do was go fishing.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough, he dug a pond beside the house. So when I was growing up, I never even put the rod away. It just stayed by a tree out at the pond. Whenever I wanted to go fishing, I just walked out to the pond and threw in there. And I used to I'd call him. Every bass I caught, no matter what time it was, I'd call him at work. And the lady in the office would answer the phone. I think Gaston's caught another fish. But if I caught a bass, I had to tell him.
That's right.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That's been a long time ago.
That's pretty cool. Now y'all get to hang out though. Y'all are still hanging out and talking about fishing and everything. So that's pretty cool.
So do you charge your daddy for charters?
Absolutely. He's double.
Cost me a biscuit.
How you think I got the boat and all the fishing? Well, it's funny though. We had a guy. My dad did pretty good fishing on the dock yesterday, and I didn't do quite as good on my charter. And I had a guy text me and ask me how much it would cost for Kent to take him fishing. And my dad said a penny per trout.
Penny per trout.
Hey, that's a pretty good deal right there.
Dog, I've had some days I would have made about 2 cents. I had some days I might have got close to making $1, but I don't know. That's been very far between.
Yesterday was a great day. It really was.
It's amazing how fast it turns on and off for right in one spot to another. I mean, they could have been.
Today, we caught 32 fish yesterday on our dock. Today I have caught 2 fish so far. One was a 13-inch speckled trout. The other was about 3.5 pounds. I've had 2 bites all day.
He did not put that on an official weigh scale, y'all.
No, that
I
is.
would think probably 2.5 pounds to be safe.
I'd give you 4. I would say 4. I'll make you feel better. That man caught a 4-pound fish. You know he did.
Well, down here in Beaufort County, we called him leg trout. His dog is my leg.
He didn't tell you that he's 4'11" though. No, a little bit taller. A little bit taller. I was going down. I was hit though. No, I'm just messing. All right, so Dad.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I'll do this.
Yeah.
Corey. All right, since you asked the question to us, I'm gonna send it right back to the other side of the table. How did you guys get into fishing together?
Honestly, we didn't. To be on ours is the total opposite side of that. We didn't do a lot of fishing growing up. Ours was all hunting. It was we did some pond fishing and stuff like
And
that.
there was a little creek called Deep Creek. Had a little tiny wooden bridge went across it. Was probably 6 foot long. And I would take him down and sit on that little bridge. And but I had made a fishing pole out of a limb and tied twine on it and put a hook on it.
So
and
we
a
came
bobber.
from the same place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and put a bobber on it, and I made this thing. It was 2 steel rods with wires coming off of it, and you plugged it in the wall. You stuck them in the ground first, and you plugged it in the wall, and all the worms would come to the top of the ground, and you could just go around and pick them up. And I tell him, don't stick your finger in. If the worm's not all the way out, don't stick your finger in the ground. It's going to shock you.
Shock
Well,
the
he had
mess out
to
of
prove
you.
it to himself that was right.
You couldn't wait for no worm to crawl out a hole. Come
But
on,
it
man.
worked. I mean, I just take 2 pieces of regular fit wire and put a plug on the end of it and plugged it in the wall, and the worms would come to the top of the
That's
ground.
innovation right there.
Dude, I'm telling you.
It worked.
But we really grew up. I say we cut our teeth more than anything. I grew up rabbit hunting. Like we had beagles.
Yeah, we
But
had a good pack of beagles. We could run some rabbits.
we had people come from all over go rabbit hunting with us. I mean, so and we grew up blessed to have so talking about people that kind of shaped it along the way. My Uncle Bill and part of the family farm had got that, and we had 40 acres there behind the house. Well, close to 40.
Yeah.
That he had kind of took and put in pine trees and seedlings and had a rabbit habitat on it and all that stuff. And he actually dug a pond back there. Later on, dug a pond and. But man, that's where we went back, and you could basically dump the dogs out and leave them right in the woods.
And he had gone there and built these little stands you could sit on over top of the ditches because the rabbits would run to the V ditches and run down the ditches because it was all overgrown and the beagles would run. So you could actually sit on that little stand and shoot the rabbits when they came down the V ditch.
We did some redneck renovations now. I'm talking, we had some innovative stuff now.
But I grew up on a farm, and we had about 500 acres of between what we owned, what my granddad owned, and what we rented, and we ran 350 brood sows and sold feeder pigs. So that was kind of my growing up. But my granddaddy, I was like Kent. I spent way more time with my granddaddy than I ever did with my dad. He would come get me every day, and we'd go do something. And he had this old wood boat. Didn't have a motor. We had the old oars on it, and and we would go out in the sound at night and put out mullet nets, and we would catch mullet and sell them at the fish market. And
Albemarle Sound.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd had an old dirt place we left the boat, and I mean, it was an old creaky old wood boat, half of it rotten, and we'd take the old nets and sew the holes up in it and go back out, but we'd go out there and sit at night and catch mullet. And that was kind of my first fishing experiences is net fishing.
Yeah. So he grew up in Pea Ridge, so they were right there by the sound and all that area. So, and then y'all ended up having a place up here behind the lake. Was actually the last piece of property that the state took.
Yeah.
Now
my other granddaddy had a place up here on the park, on the only piece of land. It was 6 acres, and the state owned everything around it except that one piece to the lake. And he had hogs in there, and I could go through the hog pen and go back there and fish on the lake. And that was when I learned that when the lily pads started blooming, that was when you were going to catch all the brim and the white perch. There were a lot more white perch, and herring were running like crazy through all the canals up here.
Back when the canals were open.
There were so many herrings. Me and my brother and 2 sisters, when we'd go to my granddad's, we'd get pitchforks and go out there, and he would bring a wheelbarrow, and we would stab. The fish were so thick you could stab them with pitchforks and fill up wheelbarrows.
they feed the hogs with them.
And fed them all week to the hogs.
Ain't that something?
And that's how thick the herring were running.
And that's how he kind of grew up with it. We grew up, and then when he did the pond, when Uncle Bill did the pond back there, then that was on. I could take my 4-wheeler or walk back there, and then that was learning how to bass fish. I had never owned an open face reel until I got out of high school on my own. We had Zebco closed face reels or cane poles, or I grew up with a Zebco. I mean, started out with 202s and then 404. I thought I'd gone big time and hit the 404.
Yeah, got that big.
And it didn't take as much drag then when a brim caught it. But I mean, that's kind of how we did. So the first time I'd ever flipped a bail, I didn't know what I was doing. I was probably one of them ones that you get on a charter to flip it upside down and didn't have a clue, you know. But
the way we stocked the pond is everybody, now my wife, his mom,
all of them are sportsmen.
are all sportsmen, and she comes from a big family. She's one of 8. So there was 5 boys. 5 girls, 3 boys. And all the boys would fish in the lake, and everything they caught, they brought and put in the pond.
Or if we went fishing, it didn't matter if we went fishing. It didn't matter wherever we went fishing. If we went fishing at the lake, if we went fishing at one of the canals, if we went fishing at the bee tree, if we went fishing down, it don't matter. If we went somewhere and we caught a fish, they were going in a bucket. And
Catfish, the brim,
and we were bringing them back and put them in the pond.
Whatever we caught went in the pond. That's how it got stocked.
We did the same thing to stock this pond.
And for a long time, nothing come out of the pond. You'd catch it and it went right back. And you got to see them bass grow, and you'd see them big old females start on certain beds in the pond. You knew where they were going to be, and you'd let them breed, and then you go
white perch.
So we had a good time. But ours was mainly growing up when you could go back at a refuge and walk blocks and deer hunt and all that. That was kind of. But I would say we were more of a hunting family, and I got into fishing and saltwater fishing, especially. I had never been saltwater.
I've never owned a boat.
No. The first time I ever went saltwater fishing that I can remember was with my buddy Jared, and that was down there. No, it had been with my Uncle Joe in high school. He lived in Virginia. And we went out there, and I had never seen croaker like that in my life. But we went up to Suffolk, and we went up to James River. And he said, I'm going to show you something today you ain't never seen. And when that pole doubled over, and I thought I had a whale. And when I brought up the 2 of them, I don't know how big them croaker were, but 2 at the time up there. And that pole doubling over, I thought I was hooked. Then I was hooked. I was like, "There's something to this saltwater stuff." I had never.
Well, by my first trip up to Chesapeake, we were catching 4-inch croaker.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I'm
Yeah,
telling
Jay,
you,
We were
right
ca-
in.
yeah.
it was awesome. We
There
were
was
sitting right
no
there by
limit
the
on the flounder. You could catch all you wanted.
croaker.
We filled up
We
80
put up-
quart cooler.
and it was a little boat we were in because there was
Yeah.
4 of us big men in a little boat. Basically, 'cause Uncle Joe was a big man and he had a little tiller handle Johnson on this boat. And we went out and we were right there by the big battleships and all that stuff and different things. But we had a blast, man. And then just started fishing Outer Banks some, doing some, same thing up there, croaker fishing and stuff. And then got blessed to start, caught a couple of trout and got the bug and took off from there, man.
Yeah, because I was more of a golfer and a hunter, and Corey got me into fishing. When he got involved in it, then I got involved in it, going with him.
So it's been kind
Tried the golfing thing. Yes. I'm sticking to fishing.
I'm not good at it, but I like.
It's been kind of cool because actually it's been I call it the reversal. Like I've been able to teach Dad and show Dad because that's only caught one citation trout ever, but I catch numbers. I don't catch them leg longers. I catch where I count them on fingers. That's all. But I mean, it's cool how you get into stuff and how the opposite side of that. How I learned so much about the outdoors and all that stuff growing up. Now I can kind of show him the water side of it because that's something I kind of got into, and I don't know, it's just something different. But like you say, it's pretty cool how you can do that role, kind of role reversal a little on some of that stuff.
Well, I mean, we fished fresh water for so long. I mean, coming from Rocky Mount Wilson, that was in our backyard. But I mean, Kent had friends that took him, and he can talk about his buddy that really got him out. And that's kind of the person that got me into the speckled trout. His name's Wayne Winston. I'll let Kent take it over from there about how he got started on coming down this way. But,
Yeah, because y'all were a little bit from home. So how did you get down this way? What kind of drew you this way?
Well, his daddy fished and all down here a lot. He was a tobacco farmer, and they never even came down here until they got the tobacco in.
Okay.
Which would be probably back then. It was traditionally about mid-October.
Ooh, so perfect.
And so I mean, your fishing down here was starting to pick up.
Yeah.
So what we would do is go like to places like Juniper Bay or Rose Bay, and we take a perfectly good craft and we just find a nice point and we beach the boat and we get out and we take a little piece of shrimp, a small rod, and catch a few flounder. And the smaller ones, we would cut the white side off and make strips.
Yeah.
Then use an 1/8 of an ounce jig head and then cast parallel to the bank, just walking along the bank and catching some really nice flounder on cut flounder.
Yeah.
And then we started, when it got cold, the trout would come up into Rose Bay and Juniper Bay. And back then, the only thing we had to catch them on basically was stingray grubs. And back then, I'm telling how old I am now.
That's all right.
But I think we had about 3 different colors of flat-tailed stingray grubs. And we would wear the trout.
It was white and chartreuse tail, white and pink tail. I know those two colors.
And a solid white with a red head was deadly.
Isn't it amazing? Y'all caught all them fish off 3 baits, and I got 3 tackle boxes full in 2 different, probably could fill up a 55-gallon barrel, but more.
Well, I think I said it on the last podcast, is you could still go back to those same grubs
Oh, yeah.
and catch. I mean, we're so sophisticated now. It's terrible that we've done that. It's fun, but the bad thing is we're spending so much money on lures we don't even need. And it's just something comes out new and you're like, oh man, got to have it.
Exactly. Honey Hole came out with chrome ice and new penny, a nice squiggly tail, whatever you call that grub. And then all of a sudden here comes gulp shrimp that's scented by Berkeley. Then you got things like the mirror lures, which now have 5 million different colors.
That's right.
You can actually order a custom color.
We
Look,
think,
he
we
even
think,
knows that.
I tell you.
I'm surprised he knows.
I
you
bet
do
he's
that.
got a couple. He just ain't told you yet.
There's a couple in cases that back in the camper, he's not allowed to touch.
I got you. Those are mighty custom, ain't they? That's right.
I don't need them. I got my popping cork and my voodoo.
Shout out to Real Life.
That's it. That's it. There you go. There you go. And that's the cool thing is, you see the progression of it. You see the thing. One thing I think that's pretty cool, and Dad mentioned this. Actually, we carried a friend of ours named Jerry Calhoun. Now, we grew up on the water because Jerry had a boat. But we didn't grow up fishing. We grew up from the time I was probably 5 or 6 or less. They basically scrounged their money together and had an old boat, and we'd go out water skiing on Lake Phelps or in the river in Columbia. So we did more of that. And they were telling stories about that, and that's some of my fondest memories. I learned to water ski at 5. I mean, they've got an old video camera where the sun's coming up over the trees, and we're out there water skiing. And I think I finally got up that afternoon when it was setting on the other side.
We had the old VCR camera, and we'd be out there, with the shoulder thing, and we'd be filming everybody's water ski. And we even made a tower out there one time with 3 of us, 2 on the skis and one standing on the shoulders of the other 2. And we would water ski out there.
Oh, for real.
Them cats were good. Oh, yeah.
We went every weekend.
And then
every Saturday, every Sunday, we were water skiing on
We
the
didn't
lake.
have boats, but we learned to run boats. That was the thing. So we'd all take turns. I was driving on the farm by the time I was 9.
Yeah.
By the time I was 9, I was driving a Dad's Ford 100 with a 3-speed on the column. So I've been doing stuff, and then they taught us to run the boat so they could ski. Well, I was up there running the boat at 10 and 11 years old, and they're back there, we didn't have one, but you knew how to run it, and so by the
If
time
you fell off, the deepest part of the lake went 11 feet.
now I think it's 9.
Most of the places you can stand up and wait for the boat to come back.
So, I mean, growing up, we learned how to run them. And then I was blessed enough. Like I said, I've just recently started owning my own boat. But Mr. Cedric Williams, before he passed, he'd take us out there, me and his son, and we'd go out and he'd basically say, here, y'all do it. And we were 15, 14 years old, and we'd do the whole thing. And when I turned 16, he had a nice Dixie with a Chevy 350 in it, and that joker would roll. But he kept it pristine. And when I turned 16, his son was 15, Justin. He basically come up that day and said, here's the keys. You put your gas in it. And because we had done it for a year, the year before, showed him we could do it. And him and Miss Marshall would take the jet skis and go off. And literally every weekend, we'd take the Dixie and we'd go out somewhere water skiing on Sunday or Saturday when we weren't working. And so we thought we were the stuff. Now, people nowadays look at it and say they wouldn't trust their kid in the world with a 16-year-old kid and a 15-year-old kid.
Didn't have driver's license.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we could drive on the water, but couldn't drive on. But we were going everywhere, and this is just us on the boat, pulling each other and taking buddies and stuff. And so the water's always been there. It's just now the fishing bug's there, and that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, it'll come up and grab you now.
It
You
will.
catch that first trout shaking his head, old yellowmouth.
Well, you had a young man today, didn't you, that kind of got bit by the bug a little bit?
7 years old, caught his first trout all by himself. And I heard him say as his dad was closing the door, he said, man, that was so much fun.
Yeah,
but I heard that. Hey, that's what I do it for. I mean, that's the only reason I'm out there. And that really, I was walking away and it put a smile on my face.
And the same guy that took us out water skiing, Jerry, I had the opportunity. Dad, so you hooked it up. So you tell the story.
Well, he's got a boat of his own, but he's not a very good fisherman.
It's the truth.
And
Now his grandson's a heck of a
his grandson's been taking him fishing, but everybody in the boat would catch a fish except for Jerry. They would go out trout fishing, and he never caught one. And he was on the phone with me a couple of weeks before Corey took him out, and he said, and he always called Corey Pory.
all the time.
Went from the time he was born until, because
I used to get
his
so
daughter
mad.
and Corey are the same age, and they went through school together. You need to get Corey Pory to take me and teach me how to catch a trout, because I've never ever caught one. And so I called Corey. I said, look, Jerry took us out in his boat the whole time you were growing up when we didn't have a boat and we were on the water every weekend. I said, we need to take him fishing. So Corey sends him a message and says, look, you've got an open invitation. You don't have to wait for me to call and tell you to come and go fishing with us. So he met us. He met us last Saturday? Saturday before last. Anyway.
I don't know. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago.
Two weeks ago. He met us at Juniper Bay, and we took him out, and he caught his first
He
trout.
caught some nice
He
trout.
caught some big, 17, 18, 19
Yeah.
inch trout, and on a popping cork. And Corey was trying, and Corey asked him, said, do you know how to use a popping cork? He said, oh yeah. He didn't.
I told him, I said, so I actually did so I had taught Dad the week before, and the video just come out. Actually, I put it up there. I was showing Dad real good. He's got a lot better at it. So I told Jerry, I said, you gonna catch a fish. I said, and I put him on a red line rigs cork, put him on one of them shrimp, and I said, all right. So it was the wind. It weren't blowing at all when we first got out there. It just weren't right. A full moon. I mean, it was honestly the
No
worst.
sun, yeah.
Worst conditions you can get out there. And Jerry's like, well, I'm gonna be skunked again. I was like, no, man, just hold on. I said the major's coming up. Just give it a little bit of time. and finally saw some bait breaking. And I said, all right, Jerry, chunk it over there. Well, Jerry talks. If you think I talk, Jerry can talk. And anyway, next he's sitting there talking. I said, "Your bobber's on there," and he all he did was pull. Next thing you know, he had his first trout. So it had done all the work. So there you go, your red line rigs, corks. You ain't even got to work. They just doing the work for you. And after that, he watched that cork and it was on. And I don't know, he probably I don't know how many we caught that day. We ended up catching right many, and he caught some nice ones. So we finally got him on his first trout.
Well, that's a great feeling for you too, right?
It was very.
There's a picture of him with his first trout.
Oh yeah.
So his first trout was 19 and a half inches. That's the first.
Trout.
That's like shooting an 8-pointer for your
That's
first
the very
buck.
first trout he ever caught in his life.
So
So he's hooked.
oh, he's hooked now.
Looks like trout weather to me.
Yes.
Gray skies.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we were fishing, and every time the sun would break out, they'd start biting.
Yeah, it was something. I don't know
It
what
was
it was.
weird.
It was actually opposite of what it normally
I'm
is.
so tired of fishing with nothing but sun. I
Well,
want some clouds.
it was cloudy that day. It was supposed to rain, which it never did. But it was cloudy that day, and every time the sun would peek through the clouds, the fish would start biting.
Man.
And then it would go cloudy again, and they would slow down.
Yep.
And then so I started hollering, "Sun's out! Sun's out!"
Get in the water.
That's
Yeah.
it. But Jerry, like I said, it was cool. Me and you, Gaston, I think and a lot of people will fall into this category. So if you're listening, I think a lot of us will fall into this category, our age especially. We saw our fathers come up working 1 and 2, 3 jobs, while our grandfathers doing the same thing, busting butt, farming, doing whatever they were doing. And we've had it. We've come up and learned the hard way, on thing. And I think things been passed along to us. But it's pretty cool that we have the boats or we have the whatever to be able to turn around and pass that back to our fathers, right? And hopefully if you're listening and you're, if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s and you kind of can resonate 50s, I don't care, whatever, and you've got someone that's impacted your life, take this time this holiday season to say thank you, to turn around and hey, I appreciate you, and make sure you're giving back, right? Or pass it on to that next generation, right? That you, the same way, pass it on to them kids that may not get a chance to go, or whoever, our veterans,
But me and Kent came up in a whole different world than you guys did. There weren't no such thing as computers. There weren't no such thing as cell phones. I mean, all this stuff that kids. My first house didn't even have that I grew up in didn't even have a bathroom. And we had no running water. We had a hand pump on the back porch. And we didn't know we were poor because everybody else was like us. And, I mean, we didn't know. 2 cousins and a brother wore all the clothes I had before I got them. And I didn't know any difference because everybody else in school was the same way. So you guys grew up in a whole different thing. And so, I mean, life was just different back then. It was slower. It was more laid back.
That's why I love the water.
It
reminds you of it.
Was it that way with you, Kent?
Yeah, I mean, we had running water.
Oh, okay.
They live in the big city. That's the difference. They live in the city.
We were way back in the sticks on this back. No matter what you call it, even the gar, you ate them.
Hold on now, I can talk about that a little bit.
Lead on to it.
I tell you, there has been many a time where Kent looked at me like I was crazy for throwing any kind of fish.
Oh, heck yeah.
If it was something you could take home and eat now, that was, that was bad to throw a fish back.
Yeah, and
I had to move him. Now we're catching these trout and throwing back so many trout, to preserve our future and the generations.
Yeah, but if you throw many of them back, they're going to go down there and tell the rest of them, then they're all going to.
Exactly. Don't go eat that stuff. Yeah.
Different philosophy. But no, I keep fish now. We don't keep that many, but it was 10 years ago. I mean, it was whatever you caught, you kept.
Yeah.
No matter how many you caught, you brought them home.
But I've heard the stories from back in the day, right? I mean, I remember this. They used to eat lunch and when
I was in high school, you talking about going down to the river?
No, when you would eat lunch and y'all would take, and whatever you didn't eat for lunch, you'd put a towel over it and eat it for dinner.
Oh, yeah, Sunday lunch. I mean, you have Sunday lunch at grandparents'.
You didn't throw nothing away.
The leftovers will stay right on the table. You put a bed sheet over them, and that's what you have for Sunday supper.
That's right.
I think a lot of times we're fishing sport and they were fishing to survive.
I've eaten many a quail, squirrel, and rabbit that had a number 6 shot in it.
That's right.
I've done that too. So I know you. So you did a little bit more, like you said. We're right here by the lake. So today a little different. These guys came our way, and so we're sitting maybe a half mile, 3/4 mile, not even that far off the lake shore. And a lot of our listeners probably are listening from maybe a freshwater side, or grew up with that same thing. And that's the thing, is all our waters are pristine around here, and talking about seeing the lily pads bloom and that kind of thing, or the times of the year, seeing a dogwood tree, or like you say, you knew at the end of tobacco it was time to bust out and start fishing for trout and that kind of thing. So that's the thing. A lot of us are freshwater fishermen that ended up in saltwater, now in saltwater.
Well, I never went saltwater fishing until I went to Jew. That's the first time I ever been.
That's crazy to me that you grew up here and didn't really do that.
No.
We didn't I never knew Bellhaven existed with that great fishery over there, or just anywhere around. We went to the
Don't tell nobody.
They'll all be there, won't they?
I still got the cricket box that I made to put crickets in for us to go fishing,
Really?
sitting in my shop with a little cover on the nail where you could put. We went out and caught the crickets and put them in the box, and that's what we fished.
Hey, that was good fun, though, right?
Yeah.
Throw a cricket or worm out on the bobber.
Well, you run all kind of trips and stuff now, man. What do you see? Who do you when you see your varying backgrounds of people coming on the boat with you? What do where are you seeing the kind of the backgrounds come from now? What do you see?
For me, it's mostly freshwater. I mean, but I think some of that too has to do with I'm taking a lot of people that know me from back home or have heard of me from back home. So you get a lot more to bass, freshwater, and the biggest thing I have to get out of them, beat out of them, is we don't care about throwing to the bank.
Yeah.
I don't care about the bank. I want to be off the bank. I have so many people that try to get right up on shore. Now, yeah, you can catch drum and flounder that way, but I'm a trout guy. And I mean, just for me, it's a lot of freshwater guys coming this way for us. And I don't know where the shift was in popularity to saltwater. I mean, I know when it happened for me, and I know there was boats and a lot of people fishing when I started coming down here for trout. But I mean, it just seems like in the last 5 to 7 years, it has just absolutely exploded.
And I got to say, I guess I would fall into that. And I've been going for a number of years, but I guess heavily going into that, right? Like really falling in love with it. Before, like I said, but that's when I finally, I guess, started getting the bug and kind of. But now that seems to. I think before it was all bass because you had the bill dances and all the shows on then were freshwater. Now, and you would see an occasional, right? But now everything is flipped. It's like it's all saltwater. Now you do see some of your bass tours and stuff, right? But around here, especially.
Well, you got now Bill Dance saltwater.
Yeah,
and Hank Parker is doing,
which is crazy. Like I would have never thought that.
And I don't know, but this was me too. When I first came trout fishing, I mean, I love bass. I mean, we fished for bass. I was upset if we didn't spend a weekend fishing for bass. But it was like, man, you came down here and caught that first trout or that first drum or flounder. It was different. So I don't know. I think a lot of people kind of fall into that category with me is you just got addicted to it. It was something where, this time of year, I mean, you're talking about into December when the water gets cold, you hit one point and you're catching 20, 30 trout in one spot. Now, where I come from,
right,
Tar River Reservoir, Saponi Creek, you're not catching 20, 30 bass on a point.
No.
I mean,
right.
And I've told a lot of people this. Back in the day when we thought fishing was good, we were catching 7, 10 bass. We got to a point where if you caught 3 or 4, that was a good day. Hey, look, 3 or 4 bass, yeah, that's fun. But you'd have 3 or 4 bass versus 50 trout. I mean, that's a whole different ballgame.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Why are we fishing for bass anymore?
The first time I went fishing with Corey in his boat, I caught a drum. And I had never, ever caught a fish that big. And I mean, he was huge. And I'd reel in a little bit and he'd be, that thing. Corey'd say, tighten your drag, And I just kept fighting and finally got him in. And I mean, it was probably that long when he Corey.
He was a keeper, so he was he was probably
He
22.
He was probably, he was like this because the big fish.
Oh, he's Moby Dick compared to a bass or a. No, he never. And right now, he'd really good
freshwater fish don't do that.
That fish got some shoals on the drum. He's a bull.
It was fun. I told Corey, I said, that's the most fun catching the fish I've ever had in my life.
He caught one on a mirror lure last weekend, and that it smoked the drum, just smoked the mirror lure.
Yeah.
And he said, Daddy, you can get in the net for this. This seems to be a pretty good fish. And he just stopped fighting, and all of a sudden, yee, 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 little dog. That was a 24-inch.
That
Wow.
is Kent's signature noise right there. Anytime a trout or something pulls a drag.
Yeah, but that was my first experience in ever catching a fish that big because I caught him first before I ever caught a trout.
And Mako, the big yellow lad, went berserk.
Oh, I can imagine now. I can imagine. So where do you see it? Like, where do you see it going now? Is this something you kind of see yourself always doing? Just like us. I mean, just always the bug. I'm bit. So now, I mean, what about you, Kent? I mean, is this something that I know you've got a group of guys that you kind of have you introduced fishing to some of those guys, a group of veterans and different ones you kind of hang out with in Belhaven some. And
Well, basically, they've taught me a lot, believe
Okay.
it or not, because one of them, well, both of them are crabbers. One of them's an oyster guy. One of them goes netting for shrimp and fish. And they taught me basically how to fish from the banks and showed me dozens of places that I can go and are welcome to go because I try to be a good person and I try to help people down here as much as I can. I progress to stage 3 fishing, and that means I'm not out to catch the biggest and the best and the most. I'm out to enjoy it, look at the eagles and the ospreys. Progressing to stage 3 means I'm willing to help you catch one. As long as God will let me catch one, it makes me smile to see you catch 20.
I ain't even close to getting there yet.
That's a lot from Kent considering how much he bragged about the 29 he caught yesterday.
it was 30. It was 32.
Well,
Yeah,
that was after I got there.
Oh, okay.
Once we got in the afternoon session, I did beat him 3-2. I want to put that on the record. But with your stage 3, I guess you were happy I beat you.
What about that big one I had right to start with that you knocked off with the landing?
I did not touch that fish at all, I promise you.
That's what I'm
Here
talking
it
about.
comes. I actually have it on video for anybody who wants to see it. I did not knock that fish off.
I lost my biggest one when we took Jerry out. I had a trout. I mean, a big.
He had a
trout.
25 plus.
And it was coming in, and I got it right to the boat. And I was trying to get it, and Jerry was trying to get the net under and hit it, and I let off of it just a little bit. Gone. Didn't get it.
Hey, look, there's a lot that goes into being a good net man.
And then they sat there back and forth and tried to
Arguing over who missed
who missed it worse. I should have had the net for you. I shouldn't have picked up on the rod tip. I said, "Shut up! You missed the trout. It's trout fishing."
That's what he said. That's fishing. You lose fish. Shut up.
Well, I generally bet my own, but Kent knows when I say get the net, get the net.
Yeah.
He drops what he's doing. That's usually not.
And my thing is, I don't want to lose it, so I'm usually I'll be like, "Oh, it's a netter," and then I think I got a 19, 20 inch, and then it starts skiing, and it's 14 or 12 or 13, and I'm like, but that's the part that you do when they first hit it. Now when you got it, but you just don't know sometimes when they first hit it because them 12 or 13 inch ones nail it just as fun as a.
You know, he's caught 5 at least of the huge citation ones.
Yeah.
And somehow I have been lucky enough to be there to put the net under 4 of those.
Wow.
And that's somebody that's got me beat because he's been there with all 5. Mako.
Yeah, but I told Dad, I said, "Dad, I said, you don't know what you just had right there." I said, "Because I've never caught one that big. My biggest is 24 and a
That
quarter."
was a big one, didn't
Oh, it was big. It was softball mouth big.
I never had, out of any of the trout I caught, I've never had one pull the drag off before.
like he pulled like a drum pulled. Like he was.
We got him up to the boat and we saw it was a trout. But I mean, it was big, but it would take off and pull the drag, and I'd bring it back, and it would pull it.
Now he keeps his. So the difference, he says Dad keeps his drag super tight. I keep my drag a lot looser. So when he says it pulls drag, it was pulling drag. In other words, it weren't just like me. I keep mine loose on purpose, so I don't.
heard yours.
Yeah, and I do. But now Dad's got his wrench down to where it ain't no. Oh, let's fight him for a second. You better get the net if it's coming because it's going to be there. And it was making some good runs, bulldogging,
nice
trying to go up in the structure. I was like, when it come, I was like, holy crap! I'd never even had on a boat that big.
Now, have you lost sleep over losing a fish that big?
Not a bit.
I don't lose sleep over nothing. I can sleep.
I'd be sitting there looking at the ceiling at night.
I sleep like a baby no matter what.
I tried to play it off because I ain't lying. He lost like a.
Yeah. What do you do, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh, should I have got the net? Should I, but and I was trying to
that's the biggest one you've ever hooked.
Yeah, I was like, that's the biggest one I've ever seen on my boat. So
It was huge.
I don't know, but that's the thing. It's the memory. If the fish is great, but it's the memory. I don't know. That's kind of the way I look at it. Is
But that's stage 3, bro.
hot dog. I
Well,
finally
his
hit
mama-
stage 3.
Yeah. When Corey says, let's go fishing, you're gone. And she said, he's done turned you into a fisherman.
Well, if you're anything like me, it's like I told the guys on the boat today. I like to see the world wake up.
Yes.
The birds, activity. I mean, the sun's coming up. You start hearing the noises of the forest, the woods.
He takes a
and
picture of the sunrise on just about every
I
chart.
mean,
It's
there's something
every
about
day.
just being on the water. Now, I put a lot of stress on myself to catch fish, but if you really sit back and take that time just to look around, 'cause I play music on the boat, but I give it at least 30 minutes to an hour every morning to let the world wake up and the things happen in the woods just to take it in.
Yeah.
And then we play music. And have fun.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's the time to go out there and relax,
Man,
have
it's
fun,
so
and watch
peaceful
it.
and quiet.
Oh, yeah.
No noise anywhere, and you're just sitting out there and it's like, wow, this is
Yeah, and that's where I guess our Octobers through Decembers used to be full of the deer woods or running dogs, and so when Dad sold his dogs, as I kind of got later into high school, and
No, when you went Army's when I sold my dog.
so that would have been 97. I mean, I've been out a good while now. I got out I love 2000, and so he sold his last rabbit dog. So when I got out of service, I needed a way to unplug, and so I started bow hunting. And that was you get out there super early, and then like I said, everything wakes up. And this is the most I can compare that to is, man, you just see everything just come alive. I mean, it's amazing. The fish is a byproduct. Don't get me wrong, but it's a special time. But
They're fun to catch.
yeah. So speaking of it getting colder, let's turn a little bit in a little direction. We've shared a lot of stories and memories and stuff like that. We will give a little bit of education on this one, and we do got some giveaways. So the people who have sat through us this long, we appreciate it. But hopefully there's been some good content you can dig into and appreciate. But it is getting colder, and I know I tell you what, it's been mighty cold the last few days with that wind blowing. Especially leading into the weekend. Holy cow! What are you seeing with some of the cold movement, man?
The trout are getting to where they're supposed to be finally. I've had 45-degree weather, water temps on Friday, Saturday, and today we had 49. The fish are really starting to school up on points, starting to be predictable. Whereas, I think in the last episode we talked about how warm the water was, and the fish were moving out, deeper water, going back out of creeks, whatever they were doing. They're where they're supposed to be now, and it's a lot more fun for me.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Bouncing jigs on the bottom, mirror lures. Now, I can tell you, Kent, what are you going to throw right now? If you had to pick one bait right now in December to throw, what are you throwing?
In December,
Yep.
well, I'll never let my popping cork down. It'll always be with me. But a dark-colored mirror lure with like a holographic shiny side. I like a little yellow or orange on the throat.
What about
And
a
when you
feather?
think you are fishing it slow, you're fishing it too fast. You need to slow it down. It's like Gaston said, you cannot beat putting a red treble hook with a feather dressing on the tail.
You don't think so?
And they'll come
Fires
up
me.
and kiss that thing, but we let him kiss it one time. Next time you jerk, he's going to say, boom! And it never hurts to put a little protein.
A little procure on
Look at
there.
that. Hey, I've taught him something because I can tell you.
And it really is nothing any better than fishing than to feel that thump when he busts that lure.
Now, when the two of us fish together, I usually get him about 5, 6, 7 and nothing before he switches to that mirror lure. I just want y'all to know that.
So it's
But
kind
he
of,
will switch.
but it's kind of like you when I was trying the other stuff and you were fishing that pop. I know we had gone pretty good, and then I switched. I said, I bet they're a little closer to the bottom. Nope, not a bit. It won't take me long to come back to. But I
If I'm
do.
catching fish, I'm not switching. That's the time you should test lures. For everybody out there, if they're biting and it's hot and heavy, test your lures, not me. I'm gonna
That's
go the
stage
same
2
way.
fish. You're willing to experiment.
Maybe.
I must be 2.5. Because I change. Now I will change a lure quick. Now I'll change in 20 minutes. I'll change a lure 10, 15 times. But I usually I usually have somebody else on the boat fishing the should baits. They should be biting those baits, and then I'm trying something else just to see if, hey, for some reason that day they're off the wall acting a little different. Can we improve the bite or something? Yeah. And then if not, I'm not going to watch you catch fish but so long before I go back to catching fish.
Now, I got to admit, he will say, Dad, have you had a strike on that? I said, no. Here, let's change your bait.
Oh.
And he's right steady changing my stuff. And he's not fishing because he's making sure I get to catch fish. So he's changing my bait. Dad, here, Dad, try this. Try this color right here. So.
Well, usually I'm catching. So what makes me feel bad? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you didn't have to tell me that. Because I've been fishing with him enough. I can catch 40, and he's going to change 8 times, and will not put on what they're biting. But I have never seen somebody change bait so much. It's incredible. Anyway, what were you going to say?
I'm not one to change.
Not you. I'm talking about Corey. Corey will change 1,000,000 times.
I'm going to make him bite what I got.
Exactly. You
So-
gotta work it better.
My philosophy, dog it. So my philosophy is this: I do a lot of teaching, and so I'm trying to pass along as much information. And regardless if I'm catching fish or not catching fish, I'm still gathering information. So part of learning, I think part of stage 3 is also learning what you ought not to do so you can pass it along as much as it is what you ought to do. And the reason I say that is because I have a lot of people say, and I'm sure you do on the boat or whatever, right? You run into people, hey, all right, so we know we've got new baits coming at us all the time. We've got new colors, new this. So a lot of times, the only way to know if it works is to try it, and to try it in different situations. Now, somewhere along those lines, you find something that really works. Matter of fact, 2 of our giveaways today are from companies that we know their stuff really works. 3 of them actually, but one of them is your choice. The other 2 is going to be kind of given to you as our stuff in the giveaways. But we don't know if something don't work right. And we don't get me wrong. Now, if I'm on the boat with them, a lot of times you'll find me. I'll start catching fish, and I usually catch ahead of him, and I've usually got Mike on with me. A lot of times I'll be catching fish, and if he hasn't had a bite, I'll be here, take what I've got on my rod, and give to him.
That is so nice.
It is. So I because I'm like, I'd rather him. I can go anytime. So if
Being
I've got
the dad has its advantages.
yeah, so I'll literally take off. Now I've got my rod that I throw, which is I've got a Salt Strong, one of those rods that I love throwing. Nobody else throws my rod but me. So I got to take my bait off to give to him to put on.
Well, thank goodness for that crank swivel, whatever that. What is that you call?
What? Yeah, my VMC crank snap. That thing is awesome, man.
Snap.
Yeah, it's awesome. But anyway,
You didn't work real good on Pungo Creek that day, did you?
it worked just fine. It was probably me.
That was the 8 lures he was.
That's probably what. I don't think none of us did too hot that. Now that
That
morning we
fella
did.
wore us out with that little short top water, man. That was fun.
Yeah, but it was fun, but I can't fish top.
I'm right steady getting it.
But I do. Part of mine is I want to make sure they have fun catching. So I will say, hey, have you had a bite? No. Well, I don't know if it's the technique he's using because I'm not watching him all the time. So I don't know if it's his technique. I don't know if it's whatever. But if I know if I'm using a bait and they're biting that bait, I can at least narrow it down to, is it because he has on a different color or a different whatever.
Well,
so
you just don't know how to fish.
Well, I mean, and sometimes you just don't. I mean, you have people on the boat all the time. You got to narrow it down to what's your strength. So I'm trying to narrow down this to this.
I think that day he actually matched the size of the menhaden that were flipping on top of the water with that little bait. And it was black and orange, if I
Black and
remember
orange
correctly.
top water scale.
Mm-hmm.
But it was exactly the same size of the menhaden that I had seen down.
Well, to what you were saying too is you can have 2 people with the exact same bait fishing 2 different styles.
I was fishing right beside you with the same popping cork and voodoo, and you were whooping my tail.
I know how to use that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I've had a little bit of practice.
And it was a cigar, and I'm
And
used to using
you had the
it.
master teach you.
You did. I mean, you've got the king. That's not fair to have the king as your father.
Yeah.
And the popping cork king as your father. And I mean, you've ultimately inherited the title. I mean, that's
You gotta know
We'll
how to
leave
work
it at
that thing. You gotta know how to be erratic and herky-jerky and stop it. Yesterday, I caught some of the biggest trout that I caught. Throwing it out there, we had a nice little ripple, and the cork was dancing, and the voodoo was dancing right underneath it. And you just pop it a little bit, make a little noise, and let it just sit there and ripple, and all of a sudden, boom.
That's it.
It's fun, man.
It is.
My goodness.
And even knowing when, but that's also too, is knowing when to work something enough and when you don't have to. Nature's doing it for you, right? So that's pretty cool. So all right. So it's getting colder. We're into December. We're looking at the fish getting to where they ought to be. Where are you kind of depths? Is there any certain depths you're hunting for them?
I mean, right now we're still, and I think I've talked about this before, but 4 to 6 is still a great depth. I mean, points, coves, bays, 4 to 6. If you're looking at deeper water, which I'm saying 4 to 6 because that's my water.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, now I could go to a place and we could catch them in 10, 12, 14. We just don't spend a lot of time there.
Right.
And that's just, experience down here, knowing where to go, knowing what to do. But we fish popping corks, top water in December, and you catch them all the time. You would think when it is 25 degrees, when the sun comes up, they're not going to hit a popping cork or be near the surface. I mean, You catch them all the time. So, I mean, really all that, 4 to 6 foot of water, I think, is always going to be my sweet spot. Now, I'll back off the bank a little bit just to kind of give them some room. But even today, I felt like the fish were pushed up closer to the bank. When the sun came up, I thought they'd come off the bank. They were closer. I think what it was, that sun was warming up that shallow water.
That real shallow
the fish
water
were
first.
moving up into the shallow.
We used to beat the bank to death. That's all we ever did, beat the bank to death. And now I have found that we catching way far more trout 100 yards offshore than we ever did.
That's what I have kind of seen, and then that's the sweet spot. And then you can move out with it a little deeper or move in with it. But
you
the
got
fish
to
are
find
going
the depth that they prefer that day.
Well, that comes back to us bass fishing, right? I mean, we were bass fishers. So the first few years we came down here, we were fishing the bank. Now, we were catching a lot of flounder, too.
Yeah.
Where you could keep flounder.
That's right.
So, it was banks. And then you would catch trout. But, yeah, over years, you learn, what to do.
Well, one thing I learned about fishing is if you're in a boat in the middle of the water, you throw it just as close to the bank as you can get it. If you're on the bank and you're fishing, you throw it just as far away from the bank as you can. Why is that?
That is the ultimate
human
question.
nature.
That is the ultimate question.
The chicken or the egg?
That's right. Well,
I do the same thing on my dock. I'll throw it out to the middle unless I see that the menhaden are breaking right or left, and I'm still a good ways offshore.
Yeah.
But you throw too short if you're out in the boat.
I don't, because the snags up there.
That's right.
He knows I'm not going to take him over there to get him off. He's breaking the line.
All right,
He's not
see,
messing up my fish.
Now, see, I got to get more like that. And that's a shame because I got 500 baits and I still...
If you're on a spot that's got fish and somebody gets snagged, you're breaking it. What, you going to go over there and run your fish away?
Half the time I can't get it to break. I guess I must tie to... You must...
Pocket knife.
Yeah, you must be tying some awful knots. All I know, I can't get mine to break. All right, I'll tell you what. We are getting close to an hour into this thing, believe it or not.
Is it really?
It really is. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to give some stuff away. If y'all stuck around this long, you deserve some giveaways. So, guys, we've got some awesome giveaway prizes that we are going to do right before we get ready to wrap up, and it's this. We have got 3 prizes. We have got Austin Hall and Redline Rigs have come to you and said we're going to do a $50 gift card. Basically, you'll be able to spend $50 on their website, or you'll get with Austin, and he'll do a prize pack worth $50. Salt Strong, who I'm a proud coach for North Carolina, and their pro staffer has come along and said Merry Christmas. They're going to do a $50 gift card that you'll be able to spend on their website, which is fishstrong.com. And if you love community and love this type of atmosphere, I invite you to come and be part of our community at Salt Strong. You can learn. There's all kind of things you can go through, all kind of lessons. You can, like Ken's talking, right? You can go to that stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and they give a lot of great information, and we do a lot of good teaching on there. And it's a great community, clean platform, just like this. There's no cussing, none of that stuff. It's not like your Facebook groups and all. So a pretty good area there. And the last one is a new partner that we have that has come on. And these baits here, you can't hardly get into stores. They're moving so fast. And we have had Stephen and Patrick with Backwater Bandits baits. They have come alongside and said, we want to do something for your listeners this Christmas. So they are actually in the process of getting together. They're going to do 5-pack gift boxes. We'll get that from them, and that's going to be in limited quantity. So you're going to get something pretty cool with that. So the way we can do this, We are going to drop this on the 10th if nothing goes wrong. We'll drop this on December 10th. You will have until, I think we said, December 17th? Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so you'll have until December 17th. This time, how do we want to go about it? We didn't even talk about this.
No, we didn't. I was thinking as you were talking, we hadn't discussed it. Why don't we do Christmas? Comment Christmas.
Okay. So this time we're going to give you two opportunities, two different places that you can go, because some people don't have YouTube. So that's we'll try to be a little fair. You can go on the YouTube channel underneath this podcast. You can go Blind Hog Adventures on YouTube, and underneath this episode you can comment Christmas, and that's all you got to do. Just comment Christmas. They're easy enough. You can comment Christmas from the 10th to the 17th, and that's on Blind Hog Adventures on YouTube. I will ask if you will give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and just comment Christmas. And then the other one we can do is we'll do something on Instagram. Let's do something on Instagram in case people don't have YouTube. So I'm gonna make a post on Instagram on the 10th. I'm gonna tag. It's gonna be up there in a post and in a story, and I'm gonna tag I'm gonna tag myself and Gaston and our sponsors. And underneath that, I'm gonna have the stuff. Hey, comment Christmas, and we will ask you to tag 3 of your buddies in that. Okay, 3 buddies, anybody you got on Instagram, so we can kind of get that word out that it's going on, and then that'll kind of give you some direction. So just the information will be there. Just comment Christmas and tag 3 of your buddies and kind of pass it along, and that way they kind of can find out about the podcast. That's about what most people do with it. So I think we'll kind of follow that same
Sounds
thing.
good to me.
Hey, it's easier than y'all having to go create a YouTube account and all that kind of stuff. So we'll roll with that. So that gives us 3 ways. We'll draw it on the 18th like we did before live. We'll give you the contact information, and you'll contact those folks. And hopefully, if all shipping occurs, you'll have your stuff before Christmas. If not, at least you have that gift card and those gifts available as a nice Christmas present for some folks. And they will be 3 different winners. One person will win the Redline Rig corks, one person will win the Salt Strong, and one person will do the Backwater Bandits pack. And we'll take all the names. I'll put in a list like I did before, and we'll do an auto random generator, and that's how it will work. If you got any questions, hit us up. Like I said, we're pretty easy to find and get a hold of. But let's wrap this up, man. What do you think? Anything we want to kind of wrap it up with?
I know when we leave here, we're going fishing, so we're going to catch a couple trout. I might beat them again today.
I got everything I need. I do want me a bushel of those.
That's all you got from us. We're going fishing.
That's it. Well, look, I tell you, anything you want to wrap up with, Dad? Just anything?
No, I'm good. I've enjoyed it. Spending time with you guys.
Talking with you. I really have.
It's been nice.
Yeah. We come from a little different background, but very similar backgrounds.
Pretty much same world, huh?
I think it's pretty cool.
I think so too. I've enjoyed it too.
Yeah, me too. And that's the thing why we wanted to get this is Eastern North Carolina, right? I think somebody can resonate with us out there. Most people can resonate, right? This is what makes Eastern North Carolina's waters, their people, our environment, all this stuff. That's why it's worth talking
Since
about.
I've been down here, I've met some of the greatest people in the world. They'll do anything in the world for you.
Yes, sir.
And I try to do anything in the world I can for them.
That's it.
CCR, people on the river are happy to give.
I don't think it is. And I'll tell you.
And you know what? You can say thank you or what can I do to help you? Man, that's the way we roll.
Yes, and that's awesome. And that's
the way I grew up.
Yeah, and
that's any different.
That's the value of it. So we just appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Have a very Merry Christmas. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And this is going to wrap us up for today. So from all of us here at Blind Hog Adventures, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Thanksgiving, and take care of yourself. All right, y'all. God bless. Take care.
There's nothing finer to me than to be on the water when that sun comes peeking in under that Carolina sky in the Lord's creation, ripping some lips on my favorite waters, taking blind hog adventures with some of my best buddies.